The billionaire's twins were blind until a new black janitor did something that changed everything. Michael and Gabriel, the 7-year-old twin sons of tech billionaire Richard Hamilton, were born into absolute darkness. For 7 years, their world was nothing but a solid black void with no edges. The best pediatric ophthalmologists from New York to Boston, even across Europe, all shook their heads. Impossible. They will never see. Before going on, picture a lavish penthouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side. Heavy curtains drawn tight, every table edge padded, walls silent, because it had been far too long since children's laughter echoed there. Richard had burned through $15 million on surgeries, therapies, equipment, hope, only to collect thicker stacks of diagnoses and a deeper well of despair. From upstairs, the children's muffled sobs fell like steady rain. Richard stood alone in his walnut-paneled study, gazing through glass at Central Park. His eyes lingered on the climbing roses outside the balcony, but his mind could not touch their beauty. Marina, his wife, had died on the delivery table. A double tragedy clung to the Hamilton household, a mother gone, and 2 children condemned to total blindness from birth. Richard's company surged. Stock hit record highs, but those were just cold numbers while his children remained trapped in night. The intercom buzzed. Security announced an applicant had arrived to interview for the housekeeper position. In a home where everything ticked like a Swiss clock, keeping the house clean seemed a minor gear, and Richard thought so too. He stepped into the marble-tiled grand hall. On the ground floor, the story bent course from what seemed a trivial moment. Isabella Johnson stood at the reception desk. A slender black woman in a crisp white shirt, dark jeans, old sneakers scrubbed clean. She carried a neat tool bag, hair tied back, eyes calm. The guard looked up, glanced at her visitor badge, and muttered, "Service entrance is around back." A phrase that sounded procedural, yet its sharp microaggression cut like a knife. Isabella lifted her head. "I'm here by appointment with Mr. Hamilton." A pause. "Oh, sorry, ma'am. Elevator to the penthouse this way." Celia Carter, the longtime house manager, greeted Isabella in a corridor lined with oil paintings and warm lamps. "Mr. Hamilton is very punctual," Celia whispered, "but this house has rules." Isabella nodded, eyes noting. Rounded cabinet edges, padded table corners, empty pathways, everything optimized for blind children. What made her chest tighten was how every curtain was sealed, shutting out the bright Manhattan morning. Richard entered, navy suit immaculate, face weary but polite. "Thank you for coming, Miss Johnson." They shook hands. He flipped through her resume. 3 floors, 12 bedrooms, library, 2 offices. Salary $3,000 a week, weekends off. One condition: do not interfere with my children's therapy schedule. I won't allow anyone to plant hope only to break it again. His voice dropped on those last words, as if he feared even to touch them. Isabella drew a slow breath. She knew the weight of false hope turned to blades. In Brooklyn, she had once cared for her low-vision younger brother, teaching sound orientation, light ball games, contrast objects. He died in an accident at 15, and from then on, Isabella vowed, if ever she had a chance, she would use everything she'd learned so another child would not grow up with only tears. "I don't promise what I can't be sure of," she replied, steady gaze. "I'll just do my job, and respect your family's pain." From upstairs, Michael and Gabriel's sobs trickled down again. Richard winced slightly, closed the folder. "You can start tomorrow morning." As Isabella walked the hallway, Nanny Martha, a white woman in her 50s, dressed in kitchen-style uniform, glanced at her tool bag and gave a thin smile. "We keep things a certain way here." The implication hung heavy. Don't change anything, especially you. Isabella returned a polite smile. She was used to being put in her place in houses like this, the help. That night, in her small staff room, Isabella opened an old wooden box, scribbled notes from caring for her brother, a small flashlight, a few black and white cards, a clicking toy top. She packed them neatly. New York was a city where light always found cracks. Perhaps, in that high-rise home, she might find one to push light through. Next morning, Isabella arrived early. Celia opened the kitchen door, offered coffee. Richard walked past, phone to his ear, still gave a slight nod. Isabella set her tools, repeating in her mind the rule, don't interfere. But the sobs drifting from the second floor pulled her steps like invisible strings. The family room door was ajar. 2 oversized armchairs cradled 2 tiny figures. Michael and Gabriel rocked themselves to the rhythm of self-comfort. Martha sat opposite, eyes glued to her screen. Stop crying, you know it won't change anything. No glance up, no step closer. Isabella's heart clenched. She stepped back toward the door, gripped the spray bottle. Psh, psh. The sound was clean, like streaks of light. Both boys lifted their heads at once. Hello there, Isabella whispered as though speaking to shadows. I'm Isabella. I came to make this room clean and fresh. Michael turned his face toward her with uncanny precision. Where's Martha? She'll be right back. Do you want to help me listen to the sounds? She squeezed again. Psh, psh, psh. Gabriel giggled. Michael tapped his fingers to the rhythm on the chair's arm. Laughter burst out like the first sunlight after rain. In that half-minute, Isabella realized the darkness here wasn't as solid as people thought. It had cracks. And where there were cracks, light could slip through. She glanced at the heavy curtains, a thought sparking like a match, but swallowed it down. Not yet. For now, she would reset the rhythm of this room, rhythm of sound, rhythm of comfort, rhythm of trust. Somewhere deep inside her, a silent line placed its bet. Within 2 hours, something will happen to make this entire household stagger, and it will begin with a very narrow slit in a curtain. Isabella set the mop in the corner, tucked her phone away, and pulled a chair closer to the twins. Shall we play call and response? She tapped lightly on the table. Tap, 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 then stopped. Michael listened, tapping back. Tap, tap. Gabriel laughed, clapping wildly, then adjusted to her rhythm. Isabella moved around the room, changing her position with each sound. The boys pinpointed her location precisely. When she was near the window, Michael tilted his head right. When she circled toward the bookshelf, Gabriel turned left. It wasn't seeing, but their bodies leaned toward the source like saplings searching for the sun. Excellent! Isabella lowered her voice, afraid of breaking this rare concentration. She drew 2 black and white contrast cards from her bag, resting them on her lap without using them yet. Her gaze drifted to the heavy curtains. Kids, she whispered, let's try another game. If it feels uncomfortable, say, stop right away. She approached the window. The curtains weighed like doctrine. I'll only open a very tiny slit. Her 10 fingers pinched the fabric. Snap. A thin thread of light spilled onto the carpet, lying still. Instantly, Michael and Gabriel turned their faces toward it. Their chests rose and fell. No cries of pain, just recognition. Something feels different, Michael murmured, as if walking on ice. It's brighter, Gabriel added, trembling yet eager. Isabella stepped across the beam, casting a shadow. Now, darker, Michael answered without pause. Gabriel tilted his head, as if listening, with his eyes. It feels like someone walked between us and something. Joy jolted through Isabella's chest. She didn't widen the light. She didn't push further. She closed the slit, returned, and clasped each boy's hand. "Thank you. That's enough for today." "But I want to know more," Gabriel whispered. "The light didn't hurt?" "Here, no one forces you to hurt," Isabella replied. "We'll go slow and safe, together." She jotted in her notebook. Light, dark, yes. Moving shadow, yes. Attitude, curious, not afraid. She added another note. Ask Celia about curtain schedule. Indirectly ask children about the belief light hurts. Source. Martha walked in, catching Isabella still seated close to the boys. Her brows arched. "Ms. Johnson, your job is cleaning." The word cleaning was driven like a tack. Isabella looked up calmly. "I'm keeping the room clean and calm." Martha sneered. "People like you come and go, don't make promises." The phrase, "people like you," landed heavy. Isabella didn't answer. She knew those words were meant to box her in. Black, housekeeper, the help. "Martha," Michael said suddenly, "light didn't hurt?" Martha froze. "Who told you to try?" "Miss Isabella," Gabriel piped up. "She made a tiny line of light. We could tell when it's brighter or darker." Martha whipped toward Isabella. "You had no right." Isabella kept her voice steady. "I created a safe, minimal stimulus. The boys could stop any time." Hurried footsteps on the stairs. Richard appeared in the doorway, tie loosened, face unguarded in shock. He had been nearby, hearing the words light and hurt. "What is happening here?" His eyes moved from his sons to Isabella. "We tried a tiny light," Isabella said, enunciating each word. They could differentiate light and shadow. The room held its breath. "Dad, I can see light." Gabriel burst out, afraid if he didn't say it, the light would slip away. Michael echoed, quieter but firmer. "Dad, I can feel when it gets brighter." In that moment, the entire house staggered. Celia rushed up from the kitchen, hand to her chest. Martha's face drained. "This is reckless." Richard stood frozen, then stepped forward, kneeling before his sons. "Did anything hurt?" "No." "Was it too bright?" "Number just different." He turned to Isabella, lips trembling. "Can you do it again? Exactly as before, so I can see?" Isabella nodded. "Only if the boys want to." She looked to them. Gabriel nodded. Michael squeezed her hand and whispered, "Okay." Isabella went to the curtains, opening just as much as before. The thread of light fell again. Michael turned toward it immediately. Isabella raised her hand, blocking half the beam. Both faces followed. No flashlight, no added lux. Every move measured with respect. Richard lifted a hand to cover his mouth. Tears streamed. 7 years of helplessness cracked open by a strand of light. "Oh my God." Martha grabbed her phone. "I am calling Dr. Collins. This is not in the plan." Celia caught her hand. "Please, wait." Martha jerked free. "The doctor said light hurts their eyes." The words dropped like a curse that had haunted the boys for years. Gabriel shrank instantly, recalling blinding exams. Isabella crouched, meeting their eyes. "No one here will hurt you. We choose how much light, and you can say stop any time." Slowly, they eased. Richard steadied his voice. "Martha, enough. I am witnessing something I've never seen before." He turned to Isabella. "Thank you for asking the right question." Martha pressed her lips tight, spun around. The door closed, leaving only the faint scent of floor cleaner and a room with altered air. Isabella wasn't triumphant. She was meticulous, like a scientist. She opened her notebook, marking time, distance, reactions, children's words. "We'll go slow," she told Richard. Only a few minutes at a time. I'll record videos for evidence and I'll call an independent team to reassess," Richard finished. He exhaled as if stepping through a door. "No more closed curtains by default. From today, we plan light instead of fearing it." Celia handed Isabella a cup of tea, eyes glistening. "You woke the whole house," she whispered. Isabella smiled, weary. She knew the storm lay ahead, calls from the clinic, inspections, accusations of housekeeper playing doctor. But for now, a single slit in a curtain had shifted the orbit of 4 lives. By early afternoon, while Richard stepped onto the balcony with his phone, Michael and Gabriel sat beside Isabella, small hands tracing the edges of her notebook. "Ms. Isabella," Michael's voice was barely audible. "Are we broken?" The question pierced like a thorn. Isabella clasped their hands. "Number. You're not broken, you're brave, and we'll take it one step at a time, together." She closed the notebook. Outside, the light poured on, enough to prove the darkness in this house was no longer absolute. That afternoon, after the moment of "Dad, I can see light," Isabella didn't celebrate. She tidied the room back to its original state, then laid out her home science kit on the table. Notebook, pen, phone for recording, 2 black and white contrast cards, a small flashlight. Every interaction was logged with time, distance, stimulus intensity, and the children's response. Head turn, facial expression, words, along with 30 to 60-second video clips. "We'll go slow, safe, with data," she told Richard. "Data keeps us from arguing with emotions." Richard nodded, dialing a string of calls. "I want an independent reevaluation at Manhattan Children's Hospital. Yes, pediatric ophthalmology. Patient under Dr. Anna Brooks. I've heard her reputation." He hung up, looked at Isabella. "Tuesday, 10 a.m. His voice had the measured cadence of a CEO starting a new project, but in his eyes flickered the trembling of a father who had just seen hope take shape for the first time. The elevator pinged. Martha strode in, tense. "Dr. Collins is on the phone. He insists." Richard picked up, switched to speaker. A crisp male voice rang out. "Mr. Hamilton, I've heard disturbing reports. A housekeeper is playing doctor with your children? This is reckless." Richard kept steady. "We observed light-dark discrimination." "I have video." The other end paused, then slipped into derision. "Parent videos are not evidence. Cortically blind children have random head movements." Isabella stepped closer, speaking clearly. "We ran repeated trials. Same stimulus, same response. And, doctor, your neonatal note said possible light perception. Why did that vanish in later reports?" Silence. Collins shifted tone. "Hope can be cruel, Miss Johnson. False hope hurts." Then, darker, "If this continues, I'll notify the State Medical Board and Child Protective Services. This is unlicensed practice." Click. The line went dead. The room sank heavy. Martha folded her arms, half defiant, half relieved to have authority behind her. Celia frowned. "He talks as if we didn't just see what happened." Isabella said nothing. She turned back to data, opened a clip, numbered the trial, tagged it, lux till 50, estimated through thin curtain, distance till 3 meters, hand shadow occlusion 50%. "If they come," she said, "we'll show them. Data has no skin color, no bias." They didn't wait long. Late afternoon, the chime rang. 2 officials appeared. A man with badge mark Freeman, M.D., State Medical Board, and a woman, Dana Lewis. CPS, neutral suits, thick folders. Freeman opened bluntly. "We received a complaint about unlicensed medical practice in the home." Dana added, "and potential risk to minors." Richard ushered them into the library. Martha lingered at the door, eyes glinting as if she'd finally found proof to box Isabella back into the help. Freeman glanced at Richard's card, voice lowering respectfully. Mr. Hamilton. Then he turned colder to Isabella. Miss Johnson, what exactly are you doing with these children? That uneven tone, Isabella knew well. She spread her notebook and phone. Stimulus response play, sound location, tiny curtain slit to test light-dark discrimination, shadow blocking to test change detection. Children always have the right to stop. No medical equipment, no invasive procedure. Dana flipped quickly through pages, asked, Do you have a safety plan? Isabella slid an A4 sheet. 4-week protocol. 5 to 7 minutes per session, 3 to 4 times a day. Lux gradually increased through thin curtain. No direct glare. Immediate stop if distress. Freeman looked at Richard. We'll need to see the children, Richard signaled. Michael and Gabriel entered hand in hand. Seeing the badge doctor, both flinched. Dana crouched, warm smile. Hi, I'm Dana, not a needle doctor, just here to make sure you're safe. Michael relaxed slightly. Isabella asked, Do you want to play one tiny light game like before? If you say stop, we stop. Both nodded. Isabella cracked the curtain just as before. A line of light fell across the carpet. Both faces turned toward it. Isabella blocked half with her hand. Darker, Michael said instantly. Like someone walked in front of something, Gabriel whispered. Freeman scribbled, but his eyes softened. Again, he said. Isabella repeated, results repeated. She played the morning clips aligned with her notes. Dana nodded gently. The boys look safe and happy. Freeman closed his folder. Here's our preliminary view. We don't see immediate harm or evidence of unlicensed medical treatment. What we see is sensory play with documented observation. He turned to Richard. Schedule a formal evaluation with an independent pediatric ophthalmology team. Richard replied, Booked. Dr. Anna Brooks, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Freeman nodded, voice easing. Good. Document everything. If there was diagnostic oversight, that's serious. He looked at Isabella. And Miss Johnson, keep it non-clinical until the evaluation. The last words landed like both warning and acknowledgement. Dana stayed behind briefly with the twins. Does light hurt? She asked plainly. No, when Miss Isabella does it, Gabriel answered clearly. When the other doctor used a very bright light, it hurt, Michael added, shoulders curling reflexively. Dana wrote this down, underlined it. When the door shut, Martha muttered, People like her shouldn't be messing with. Celia cut in, rare steel in her voice. Enough, Martha. The children smiled today. I haven't heard that in years. Martha turned away, unable to hide her flush. That night, Isabella updated the tracking chart, sketched a tiny graph of correct response rate by session, added a column for anxiety level, 1 to 5. She reserved a page. Source of false belief, light hurts, linked to past bright light exams. Countermeasure, only gentle light, explain right to stop, pair light with pleasant cues, favorite sounds praise. She closed the notebook, exhausted. Outside, the city still glowed. She thought of Colin's threat, then of Dana's face when she heard, No, when Miss Isabella does it. In a fight against prejudice, how you do something mattered as much as what you did. Before sleep, Richard texted, Thank you for the light and for the data. Isabella replied simply, See you at the hospital. We'll let science speak. Tuesday morning, the New York sky was clear. Manhattan Children's Hospital gleamed with wide glass panels, and paper fish dangling from the pediatric wing ceiling. Richard guided Michael and Gabriel forward. Isabella walked beside them, keeping the pace slow, letting the boys follow sounds in their imagined light the way they'd practiced at home. At reception, the clerk asked for paperwork. Isabella handed over a neat folder. Medication list empty, therapy schedule none, USB with video. The clerk accepted, glanced at her, momentarily puzzled that a housekeeper presented a more thorough file than many parents. "Thanks, ma'am. Please wait in pediatric ophthalmology." The door opened, and Dr. Anna Brooks stepped out. Early 40s, brown hair tied back, bright eyes, warm voice. "Mr. Hamilton, Ms. Johnson, Michael, Gabriel." She bent down to the children's level. "Hi there, I'm Anna. I don't do needle things, I mostly play with light and shapes." The boys eased a little. She ushered them into the testing room, warm with wood accents and soft lighting. "Before anything," she said, "tell me what you saw at home." Isabella summarized, precise. Curtain slit created a small beam. Children turned correctly. 50% shadow occlusion. Child said darker. Repeated trials. Video documented. Additionally, excellent sound localization, positive effect. Richard added, 7 years, no one ever showed me this. Anna nodded, opened her laptop. "We'll run 4 categories of tests. PLR, pupillary light reflex with soft light. OKN, optokinetic nystagmus with slow black-white stripes. VEP, visual evoked potentials. And FST, full field stimulus threshold. All gentle, no pain, full right to stop. Test 1, PLR, pupillary light reflex. Dim room. Anna used a low-lux source, never direct, observing pupils with infrared camera. I'm shining a very soft light near you, not at you. Michael's pupil constricted faintly. Gabriel's more distinctly. Anna recorded PLR plus, response present, afferent pathway intact. Test 2, OKN. Screen displayed slow-moving black and white stripes. At distance, she cued the boys to listen with eyes. Michael showed faint OKN, Gabriel clearer. This suggests tracking of large, high-contrast patterns, Anna explained, showing Richard the waveform. Test 3, VEP, light electrode cap, styled like a game hat. High-contrast pattern reversals flashed slowly. Both children produced VEP waves, irregular but clear. Isabella squeezed her hands, holding in a breath. Richard stared at the screen as if seeing the map of a continent rising from the sea. Test 4, FST, darker room, broad field stimuli at varied intensities. Michael pressed the button when he felt something different, with moderate latency. Gabriel pressed more consistently at lower thresholds. Anna noted carefully, no theatrics. Between tests, she always asked, stop or continue? Each time the boys chose continue. Anna smiled. You two are brave. She moved to teller acuity cards, gauging functional vision at low vision range. Results suggested ability to discriminate broad stripes at close distance. After nearly 2 hours, Anna invited them into the consult room. She placed a summary before Richard and Isabella. Based on PLR+, OKN+, VEP responses, and FST thresholds, I estimate both children have functional vision around about 30%, not total blindness. With structured sensory stimulation and habilitation beginning now, they can achieve significant functional improvements. She paused, voice low. 7 years ago, the neonatal note flagged possible light perception. It should have prompted follow-up, not closure. Richard leaned back, hands trembling. So, we lost time. Anna met his gaze, honest yet warm. We lost some time. But neuroplasticity at 7 still gives us space. What matters is what we do now." She turned to Isabella. "What you did, slow, documented, consent-based, is exactly how we'd proceed clinically. Keep your protocol. We'll add weekly vision therapy." Isabella nodded, eyes damp but steady. "We'll stick to data." Anna printed a formal letter. Revised diagnosis, intervention plan, monitoring schedule. She offered further, "With your permission, I'd like to publish this as an anonymized case series, so no doctor overlooks this again." Richard answered instantly, "Yes, make it public." As they left, Richard's phone buzzed. A new email. "Collins and Partners, LLP, legal notice. We demand you cease experimental treatment conducted by Ms. Johnson, an unlicensed individual, and refrain from defamatory statements about prior care." Richard showed Isabella. She smiled calmly. "We're not doing treatment. We're doing documented sensory play under a hospital plan." Richard hit forward to Anna. Within a minute, Anna replied with a signed letter attached. "The children are under my care. Home-based sensory routines are part of the plan." Richard responded, "Thank you." On the way home, Celia texted, "The curtains are drawn thin per your schedule." Back at the penthouse, Gabriel ran straight to the window. "Miss Isabella, the light is softer here." Michael came slower, stood beside him, whispering, "I can tell when clouds move." Isabella switched on a warm desk lamp, placed black and white contrast objects nearby, pairing light with the sound games they loved. She added a line to her notebook, "Day 0, post-reevaluation. Week 1, target, build endurance, longer sessions, keep safety, low lux, reinforce new belief. Light can be gentle." That night, as the city lit up, Richard invited Isabella to the balcony. "I spent $15 million on clinics that never asked me the right question, and you gave it to me with a slit of curtain." Isabella replied, eyes on the stream of cars below. "Not because I'm smarter than them. Only because I believe evidence can come from very small things, if you're willing to look." Richard's phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "This isn't over." His brow furrowed. Isabella exhaled. "I'd guess doctor." Collins just launched another campaign. She closed her notebook, set the next day's goals, record baseline under stable light, begin slow-motion tracking exercises, train stop word so the boys can halt whenever they feel discomfort. Before turning off the lamp, she wrote one line like a vow. "We will let science speak. And when science speaks, prejudice must fall silent." The next morning, after the reevaluation, New York shone like sugar scattered in the sun. The penthouse curtains were drawn thin, following the light schedule Isabella had taped to the refrigerator. Each interval 7 to 10 minutes, lux increasing very slowly, paired with call and response sound play. Michael stood near the window, his face tilted slightly toward the shimmer of moving leaves. Gabriel closed his eyes, smiling as he sensed brightness shift like the city's breathing. "Light can be gentle," Isabella repeated the mantra, letting the new belief cover the old fear. Richard brewed coffee, his face alight with a rare brightness. He placed an envelope before Isabella. Retainer for the role of coordinator of special development. Not tip money for the help. This is a contract. The words nailed it shut. Isabella nodded, eyes bright yet steady, walking the measured rhythm of someone used to crossing a bamboo bridge. Each step must be firm. Richard's phone buzzed, an email from a major financial news site. Headline, "Sources, Billionaire's twins, undergo unproven. Home experiments led by housekeeper. quotation marks around housekeeper cut like blades. In the article, Dr. Henry Collins never named names but issued a general warning about false hope and trauma. Comments below erupted with prejudice. Keep the help in their lane. What's next, TikTok doctors? Richard clenched his jaw. Celia sighed. People love simple stories. Maid versus famous doctor. They don't see the data. Isabella didn't look at the comments. She opened the tracking chart, adding a new column. Positive associations, light paired with favorite music, praise. Another for stop words so the boys could practice halting on their own. She knew this wasn't only science, it was also media, ethics, power. And on all three battlefields, evidence was her armor. Near noon, the elevator chimed. Celia peeked in. 2 men say they're from the State Medical Board, want immediate entry. Isabella and Richard went to the door. 2 men in gray suits, metal badges clipped. The taller one flashed a card. Dr. Hale, Investigations. This is Mr. Klein. Isabella accepted the card, scanning with the eye she'd trained over years of work. Engraving, slightly shallow, font off by a hair, hotline number italicized. Strange. She smiled politely. Give me 2 minutes to verify. Hale raised a brow. We don't have time. Isabella still called. On the other end, Dr. Mark Freeman, the real official from days earlier, spoke firmly. No one named Hale or Klein on my team. Don't let them in. Isabella looked up. Sorry, gentlemen. The board confirms no appointment. Please leave. Hale snapped. Who are you to... Richard stepped forward, voice like steel. I'm the homeowner. Security. Building guards appeared, escorting the imposters out. When the door shut, Celia finally exhaled. Richard turned to Isabella. Thank you for spotting a card. She shrugged. Prejudice loves to travel under a badge. We shouldn't believe authority just because it wears metal. That afternoon, Dr. Anna Brooks called. The board scheduled a case conference Friday, 2 p.m., she said. Collins may push for an injunction to halt home sessions. I'll bring PLROKNVEPFST data and my referral letter. You bring Clip's logs and, if needed, witnesses. Richard replied, We'll be ready. Isabella returned to training. She pulled out a filter set, thin yellow film, pale blue film, not to talk vaguely about warm-cool, but to test perceived brightness across spectra. Does this feel brighter? She asked evenly. Gabriel, the yellow one feels brighter. Michael, blue feels dimmer. Isabella noted, perceived brightness. Difference yellow versus blue. No conclusions yet, no credit claimed. Just letting science draw its map. That afternoon, a news crew lingered in the lobby. Cameras rolled, guards blocked them, but questions flew. Ms. Johnson, are you experimenting on the kids? Isabella pressed her lips, then stepped to the hall's edge, speaking clearly and briefly to the lens. We don't experiment on children. We listen to them. We run gentle, documented sensory play under a hospital plan. Hope isn't cruel when it's measured. She didn't stay to argue. More words would only be cut. Night fell, quiet inside. Michael rested a hand on Isabella's notebook. Ms. Isabella, will they stop us? She knelt to his level. No one can take away what you already felt. Even if they pause us for a day, the light remains, and we'll return to it. Gabriel whispered, Can we show them? The way the shadow moves? Isabella nodded. We will, and we'll record the evidence, as much as you want. She opened her email, attaching logs and clips to Anna, annotated like a lab report. Trial 3 to 5. Slit width constant approximately 1 centimeter. Ambient lux approximately 35 to 40. Occlusion till 50%. Orientation latency, 450 to 600 milliseconds. Richard looked over her shoulder, sighing. If only someone had done this years ago. Isabella closed the laptop. People were too busy diagnosing to remember observing. Night draped Manhattan like velvet, stitched with a million lights. Across the street, a billboard flickered. In a dark car, parked a block away, Collins sat motionless, eyes fixed on his phone replaying Isabella's clip. His lips curled. Plan B. A message fired off. Push the reckless Maid angle tonight. Leak the old total blindness reports. Frame it as child endangerment. On the other end, an editor replied, "On it." Collins had moved another piece on the board. Up above, Isabella wrote her final line of the day's journal. Day -2 before case conference. Light is present. Prejudice is present. We will let evidence walk ahead of fear. She turned off the lamp. Outside, the city stayed awake, but inside this home, belief had found a safe place to sleep. Friday, 1:45 p.m. The State Medical Board's conference room was as cold as steel. Leather chairs circled a long wooden table. On the wall, the clock ticked with merciless precision. Dr. Patel, chairing, reviewed the file. To her right sat Dr. Mark Freeman, the one who had visited the Hamilton home. To her left, 2 other board members. On one side of the table, Dr. Anna Brooks with a case of documents, charts, referral letters. Richard and Isabella beside her. A USB drive with clips between them. Across sat Dr. Henry Collins and his attorney, in gray suit, thin glasses, voice low as oil. Patel opened. We're here to review a complaint alleging unlicensed medical practice and risk to minors, and to consider a temporary stop on home routines. We'll hear Dr. Collins, then Dr. Brooks, then Mr. Hamilton and Ms. Johnson. We'll base our decision on evidence. Collins's lawyer stood. Our position is simple. The children were diagnosed by a team of 15 specialists as totally cortically blind. Now, a housekeeper is conducting unproven home procedures, confusing the children, risking trauma. This fits the pattern of false hope. He lowered his voice, turning toward Isabella. People like Ms. Johnson, however well-meaning, shouldn't. Patel cut in. Counselor, watch your language. We're here to discuss methods, not people like anyone. Collins took over. Cortical blindness can show random head turns. Parent videos are not objective. Any light-dark discrimination could be coincidence. Freeman tilted his head. Doctor. Collins, your neonatal note flagged possible light perception. Why was it not followed up? Collins blinked. The team later concluded no functional vision. That early note was inconsequential. Freeman pressed. Do you have documentation of that follow-up? Collins glanced at his attorney, then the screen. We consolidated reports. Patel turned to Anna. Dr. Brooks. Anna stood, opened slides. We performed PLR, pupils constricted. OKN with slow high-contrast stripes, present. VEP, reliable waveforms. FS, T-detectable thresholds. Gabriel, more sensitive than Michael. These are objective, not parental impressions. On the slide, VEP graphs peaked clearly. Our estimate, approximately 30% functional vision. We prescribed gentle home sensory routines, not treatment, under clinical supervision. Here's my letter. She played a clip. A narrow shaft of light fell on carpet. 2 faces turned precisely. Hand shadow blocked 50%. Child said darker. Another clip, yellow versus blue filter. Children distinguished brightness difference. Anna. Trials were repeated with constant parameters. Latencies are consistent. This is not random. She closed the slides. Denying this would be denying physics and neurophysiology. Patel noted, then invited Richard. He didn't read from paper. I'm a father. For 7 years, my house kept curtains shut out of fear of light. This week, I saw my children turn their faces to a beam of sun. I don't want anyone selling me false hope. I want science and respect. I've seen both from Dr. Brooks and Miss Johnson. Isabella's turn. She stood, hands on the table, back straight. I'm a black woman from Brooklyn. I'm also a care worker who has spent years watching, listening, learning. First with my brother, now with these boys. At home, we do consent-based, documented play. Kids can say stop any time, no glare, no forcing. Light can be gentle. She looked straight at Collins, voice lowered. Words like housekeeper have been used to shrink me, hoping they shrink the data too. But data has no race or paycheck. It either holds or it doesn't. In our case, it holds. Every time. Collins's lawyer leaned forward. How many degrees do you have, Miss Johnson? The question hissed. Isabella didn't blink. Enough to know when a child says, stop, we stop. Enough to keep records. The rest, Dr. Brooks covers. Some board members chuckled quietly. Patel tapped her pen. This is a practice question, not pedigree. Freeman summarized. We have objective tests supporting functional vision. We have home routines under clinical plan. We also have a troubling gap. An early LP note seems ignored. That suggests possible diagnostic oversight. He looked at Collins. Doctor, did you ever advise the family to seek a second opinion? Collins leaned back. The team was sufficient. Freeman noted. Recorded. Patel conferred briefly with the 2 commissioners, then looked up. The board's interim decision. 1. Deny the complainant's cease and desist request. 2. Permit continuation of home routines under Dr. Brooks's supervision. 3. Open investigation into the initial diagnostic process, particularly the lack of follow-up on light perception. 4. Recommend diagnostic language avoid absolutes where doubt remains, and encourage parents to seek second opinions. She paused, stared at Collins. And we caution all parties against media framing that could harm minors. The room loosened, like unfastened corsets. Richard exhaled, eyes wet. Anna squeezed Isabella's hand. Collins sat frozen for a beat, then picked up his phone. His lawyer leaned close, whispering. On his screen, a message from an editor. Segment airs at 8. Reckless Maid, package ready. Collins typed back, add risk of psychological harm, keep it experts say. Outside the building, reporters waited. One thrust a mic. Ms. Johnson, do you feel out of your depth as a housekeeper in medical matters? Isabella stared into the lens. I don't do medicine, I do listening. And today the board listened too. Another asked Anna, Doctor, do you endorse a housekeeper leading home routines? Anna replied flatly, I endorse parents and caregivers who follow clinical plans, collect data, and center child consent. Titles don't move pupils, light does. On the steps, a young mother carrying a boy approached, eyes red. Mr. Hamilton, Miss Johnson, my son was also called totally blind. But when I cracked the curtain, he turned his face. They said I was imagining. She held out her phone. A shaky clip of the child lifting his face toward a ray of sun, smiling. Isabella took the phone, eyes bright. We see you. Behind her, 2 more parents raised tentative hands. A seed of a class action had touched ground. That night, the 8 o'clock broadcast aired Reckless Maid. Isabella's clip before the lens was cut, omitting under a hospital plan. The Chiron screamed, Billionaire's twins caught in unproven home experiments. An anonymous expert, voice distorted, warned of trauma. Richard shut off the TV. They called you a maid. Isabella smiled, weary. Tomorrow we'll call them defendants. She opened her laptop, drafting. Subject: Inquiry, Yuri. Potential class action. Medical bias and diagnostic oversight. Sent to a civil rights law firm. In the kitchen's warm dark, Michael appeared at the doorway. Ms. Isabella, the light in the hallway, it's softer. Isabella knelt, arms open. Yes, baby. Soft light is our home. Outside, Collins was already sketching Plan C. But inside this house, light now had a name, a schedule, data, and children who knew how to say stop to protect themselves. That was what prejudice hated most. Autonomy taught by gentleness. And that was the hardest thing in the world to defeat. The morning after the board hearing, the penthouse curtains were drawn thin, following the light schedule. Gabriel stood by the window, hand on the edge of the curtain, whispering, I can tell the sun is behind a cloud. Michael sat on the rug, tilting his face toward the shadows of leaves brushing across the floor. Isabella reminded softly, light can be gentle. If you're tired, just say stop. Both boys nodded, the stop word now like a charm that gave them control. Richard's phone rang. Ava Reynolds, a civil rights attorney with tight curls and a steady voice. We've agreed to take the case as a potential class action. I'll come with Malik Carter, our litigation partner. This afternoon, 3 p.m. at your place? Richard looked at Isabella. She nodded. We'll have data ready. At 3, Ava and Malik opened their leather case. Not promises, but a roadmap. Negligent misdiagnosis, especially the failure to follow up on the neonatal LP, light perception note. Pattern and practice, a systemic model of inflating blindness severity, selling useless. Interventions, fostering dependency. Bias and defamation, the racial class prejudice in media framing, Maid, that harmed. Reputation and obstructed care. Spoliation hold, letters demanding Collins and the clinic preserve evidence, especially. EMR audit logs. Audit logs don't lie, Malik said. They record who changed what, when. Isabella laid out logs and clips, reciting parameters as though in a lab meeting. Slit width approximately 1 centimeter. Ambient lux approximately 35 to 40, occlusion 50%, response, latency approximately 450 to 600 milliseconds, stable repetition. Ava nodded. Perfect. We'll build a timeline, from the neonatal LP note to the copy-paste reports. If audit logs show deletions or language shifts toward absolutes, that's dynamite. Just as they finished, a new email flashed in the shared inbox. Olivia Park, RN. Anonymous tip. The message short. I worked 4 years at Collins Vision Institute. Saw LP flags ignored or folded into final conclusions. Verbal directive. Don't confuse parents with LP. Keep it simple. Total. I fear for my job, but conscience won't let me stay silent. I have backups of internal emails. The room stilled. Ava replied instantly. We'll protect you under whistleblower privilege. Can you meet privately tonight? Olivia agreed. Malik added, as soon as we receive her proffer, we'll file the spoliation letter and request protective order for the witness. Richard nodded, tense but alight with hope. Before the meeting, Isabella took the boys to the hallway for slow-motion tracking practice. She used a hand puppet, sliding slowly along the wall, leaving a soft shadow. Gabriel tracked steadily. Michael slower, but adjusted his angle. "Stop," Michael said when tired. Isabella halted instantly, smiling. "Good job using your word." She noted, endurance improving, self-advocacy clear. On the way back, a casual microaggression appeared. A new guard on shift pointed to the service elevator. Isabella smiled. "I live and work on the penthouse floor. This one's fine." Richard arrived in time, voice loud enough for the lobby. "Miss Johnson is head of special development in my home. Anyone who says otherwise will take bias training before their next shift." The guard apologized, awkward. The boundary was set. That evening, Olivia Park arrived by the side entrance, a slim Korean-American nurse, hands gripping her bag. Ava led her into a small room. Olivia trembled but spoke clearly. "The Epic EMR system has an audit trail. I saw a note LP to be investigated in the NICU chart." Weeks later, an attending changed the problem list to total cortical blindness, with no reference to LP. When I asked, my supervisor said, "Don't complicate it." She pulled out a USB screenshots of internal emails, extracted logs she had sent to her personal account before resigning. Ava didn't touch it directly. She logged chain of custody and sealed it in an evidence bag. Malik immediately sent the spoliation letter to Colin's office, he seeing the Attorney General. Isabella poured tea, told Olivia, "Thank you for seeing the children." Olivia pressed her lips. "I saw too many kids flinch under harsh lights. They should have been given soft light and schedules, like you do." The words landed warm, like a wool blanket at night. The next day, the penthouse caught a small but memorable moment. In the kitchen, a patch of sunlight fell through thin curtains onto the tiles. Gabriel exclaimed, "Look, sun puddles." Michael stomped playfully in the glow, giggling. "It's warm, pretend." Celia stood still, hand on her chest. At the doorway, Martha paused, face conflicted. Later, after Isabella finished cleaning, Martha approached. "I said, people like you the other day. I was wrong." Isabella met her eyes. "Thank you for saying that. The boys hear everything." Martha nodded, eyes wet. "I'll learn your schedule. I won't stand in the way." A small thorn pulled from the house. By afternoon, #SaucerLight-can-be-gentle quietly trended, sparked by a clip Richard posted, Michael's voice calling, "Darker," as a hand shadow slid across the wall. No doctors named, no attacks, just everyday data. Hours later, Collins's channel pushed number Reckless Maid again, citing an anonymous source warning of trauma. Ava picked up the phone. "We've just filed the preservation order. The more they post, the more fun Discovery gets." Malik added, "Witness protection motion submitted." Late at night, Olivia texted via Signal, "They're asking if I know who leaked. I'm scared." Ava replied, "We've filed a protective motion. If threatened, call 911, then me." Isabella sent one line, "You did the right thing." Somewhere in the city, someone tried to smother a slit of light, but the audit logs were sealed, the spoliation letter delivered. Truth, once properly preserved, is hard to erase. That night, Isabella updated the chart, added a comfort link index, light paired with Celia's fresh baking, Richard's soft jazz. She wrote, "Light plus safety plus consent equals trust," then closed her notebook, resting her forehead on the glass. Across the street, a billboard shimmered, just a drifting band of light. She didn't know which way court would tilt, only that tomorrow Michael and Gabriel would still have a sun puddle to step into. And for now, that was enough to keep walking. 2 days later, the Supreme Court of the state convened an emergency hearing on Colin's petition, an injunction to ban all home routines, and a gag order silencing the family. The courtroom was packed like a theater. On the plaintiff's side, Collins and his lawyer. On the defense, Richard, Isabella, Ava, Malik, and Dr. Anna Brooks, white coat, neat, hair in a low bun, charts ready. Collins' attorney boomed, "Home routines carried out by a housemaid with no medical license pose psychological risks. The family's media activity confuses the public." Ava rose, voice sharp as a ruler drawn taut. Housekeeper is a job title, not a measure of caregiving competence. Here, all activities are sensory play prescribed in a hospital plan under doctor. Brooks's supervision. We submit VEP/OKN/PLR/FST data and logs. We ask the court to deny. The judge, silver-haired with round glasses, flipped through the file. Does plaintiff have any specific evidence of harm to these children from the activities described? Collins's lawyer slid forward, vague experts say, quotes. The judge frowned. I asked about specific harm to these two children. Collins's side faltered. Malik stood. Your Honor, we have supervised video showing the children smiling and stopping on their own when tired. No coercion, no glare. Dr. Brooks, the judge called. Anna stepped forward. Objective tests confirm functional vision approximately 30%. I prescribed home routines as part of habilitation. Halting them for vague reasons would harm more. Children would lose the endurance they're building. The judge nodded, turned to Collins. And about media? Collins inched. The family's statements harm medical reputation. The judge set down his pen. Reputation does not stand above medical truth. Gag order denied. The ruling rang like a bell. The injunction request denied. Home routines allowed to continue under Dr. Brooks's supervision. A special master, an independent pediatric ophthalmologist from another hospital, appointed to review logs and clips periodically to ensure compliance. Finally, the court warned both sides against irresponsible media, especially involving children. Collins sat, jaw twitching. That afternoon, the State Medical Board issued temporary guidelines. All congenital blindness diagnoses must include at least 3 independent opinions, with degree of uncertainty stated. When LP, light perception, is noted, follow-up is mandatory in diagnostic language. Must avoid absolutes. Anti-bias training recommended for pediatric ophthalmologists. Avoid equating caregiving. Roles with incompetence. Encourage caregiver-hospital collaboration models based on consent and objective. Records. The bulletin fell like cool rain in midsummer. Richard read each line aloud, eyes wet. Isabella didn't cheer. She exhaled long. The right thing had arrived before the boys lost more precious time. The next day, a modest press briefing in the hospital lobby. No stage, no shiny backdrop, just chairs and a shared microphone. A young mother held her daughter, voice shaking. My child was called totally blind. Yesterday she pointed at a sunbeam on the wall. A salt and pepper father spoke simply. I don't want to sue anyone. I just want to ask again the question that was ignored. When it was her turn, Isabella spoke briefly. Care work is skilled work. Titles don't move pupils. Light does. A reporter pushed, Ms. Johnson, do you think being a maid made you overconfident? Ava bristled, ready to retort, but Isabella smiled. No. Being a listener made me careful, and being black taught me to document. The hall fell silent for a beat, then scattered applause. That afternoon, Anna's case series received conditional accept from a respected ophthalmology journal. Revise and resubmit with extended follow-up. Anna texted the group, We need 4 more weeks of data. Isabella replied with a photo of her thickening chart. Science ticked like a clock. Slow, but trustworthy. At dusk, Isabella took the twins to Central Park for outdoor tracking. Late light filtered through trees, leaves rustling. She asked Celia to bring caps for glare, chose a shaded path. "We'll go slow and safe," she reminded. Gabriel walked in the middle, Michael holding her hand. "Miss Isabella," Michael whispered, "I can see the sun patches on the ground." Gabriel pointed, "And the kite, it's like a moving dot." The kite, far away, a single bright speck cutting the sky. Isabella held her breath, eyes stinging. "You're doing great. If your eyes get tired, we—" "Stop!" Michael laughed, stopping himself at the right moment. They sat, drank water. Richard, a few steps away, pretended to check his phone as he wiped his eyes. On the way back, a reporter slipped close. Mike lowered. "Mr. Hamilton, some say you're just polishing your image." Richard gave a thin smile. "I'm old enough to know PR doesn't teach my sons to say darker when I block a beam of light. Light teaches. Isabella teaches. Dr. Brooks teaches." The answer was short, but steel. That night, Ava received a call from Chambers. Discovery schedule set. EMR audit logs to be extracted by an independent forensics firm. Malik served papers to Collins. Elsewhere, an investigator snapped covert photos of Isabella at a subway station, captioned, "Reckless Maid shining light into kids' eyes at park." Ava countered immediately, releasing the park session logs, time, lux estimates, shaded location, with a video from the special master confirming safety. The fake story popped like a thin balloon. Celia baked apple pie. Michael and Gabriel asked for sun slices, 2 pieces set in sun puddles on the table. Everyone laughed. Martha brought tea, standing quietly as the boys played. "I'll learn the jazz playlist," she said, half joking. They seemed to like light with Coltrane. Isabella touched her notebook. Another comforting link, light plus jazz. Near midnight, Isabella received an anonymous text. "Stop or get burned." She didn't panic. She forwarded it to Ava, Malik, and Dana Lewis, CPS. Ava replied, "We've filed for a protective order. Tonight, you lock the doors. Give the boys their light. The rest is law." Isabella set down her phone, looked at the children asleep, each clutching a contrast card like a small flag. She whispered, "Tomorrow, we'll count sun puddles again. Just a little more." Outside, Manhattan breathed with a million tiny lights. Somewhere, Collins typed late-night emails. But here, in this home, light had a name, a schedule, evidence, allies, and 2 children who had just learned a new word: sun puddles. Tomorrow, the court would do its part. Tonight, the light had already done its own, gentle, steady, enduring. The morning of the first deposition, the light schedule beat steadily like the home's own heartbeat. Gabriel stood by the window, fingertip resting on the curtain's edge. I can tell the cloud moved. Michael tilted his face toward the stripe of sun skipping off a flower pot. Isabella smiled. "If you're tired, say stop." Both boys nodded. Before leaving, Richard crouched to eye level. "You've already done the brave thing. The rest is for the grown-ups." At Ava Reynolds and Malik Carter's glass-walled office, the conference room looked like a battlefield laid out with precision. Water pitchers, recorder, a timeline plastered across the wall. On the other end of the feed was Dr. Henry Collins. He'd chosen remote testimony with his lawyer seated beside him. Ava opened, gentle but sharp. "We'll proceed chronologically. The neonatal note signed by you. Possible light perception to be investigated. Please confirm." Collins cleared his throat. That was an initial suggestion, not conclusive. Malik pushed a digital document across the screen. Then the problem list shifted to total cortical blindness, with no LP reference. Who made that change? Collins. We consolidated notes to avoid confusion. Malik smiled thinly, entirely sympathetic to simplicity. But the EMR has an audit log. It records every action. User ID, timestamp, edited field. Here it says, User, H. Collins, March 28, 1042, LP line deleted from assessment. Next day, 1107, total added. Do you want to revise your answer? An odd silence. Collins's lawyer cut in. My client can't recall every keystroke from 7 years ago. Ava didn't raise her voice. The audit log remembers for him. She played Olivia Park RN's Whistleblower video. We were told verbally, don't confuse parents with LP, keep it simple, total. The lawyer objected. Hearsay. Ava calmly projected internal emails Olivia had handed over under chain of custody. Subject line, LP flags. Parent comms policy. Sender supervisor CCH Collins. Collins looked down, jaw twitching. Then came Isabella's turn. Collins' lawyer slid the question like a knife. Do you hold any medical degree? Isabella looked straight into the camera. I have 2 children who know to say stop when they're tired, and a data set showing repeated responses to gentle stimuli. The medical part is covered by Dr. Brooks. Malik added, and the special master appointed by the court confirmed every session is safe. He filed the latest review. Average head-turn latency dropping from approximately 550 milliseconds to approximately 420 milliseconds. Endurance rising from 4 minutes to 7 to 8. Anxiety stable at 1st to 2nd of May. By noon, Ava called a break. Richard stepped onto the balcony, breathing deep. Across the street, a billboard blared, "Reckless Maid?" the question mark trembling like a blade. He turned back, voice low. I don't want a settlement if it means silence. Ava nodded. We're not here to ransom dignity. We want correction orders, public apology, mandatory anti-bias training, independent oversight for all suspect cases. Money is just leverage for enforcement. In the afternoon, Collins' deposition resumed. Malik struck the gray center. Do you recall using the term housekeeper when objecting to home routines? Collins. I described her role. Malik. Did you use the phrase people like her? Collins' lawyer rushed. Objection. Out of context. Ava played back audio from the Hamilton home. The help should know her place. Collins froze, eyes darting to counsel. Ava closed. This case isn't only about diagnosis. It's about how authority gets used to shrink other people. By day's end, Richard's inbox pinged. A settlement proposal from Collins's office. Substantial payout, conditioned on no admission of fault, no media comments. Richard forwarded to Ava. Answer, no. Ava replied with their own draft term sheet. Admit misdiagnosis and policy failure regarding LP flags. Public apology to the family, to Olivia Park, and to affected families. Mandatory anti-bias training for all staff. Ban on disparaging caregiver language. Creation of a Gentle Light Fund, seeded by Collins Institute for soft vision stimulation in low-vision children. Retraction and correction of all defamatory statements. Reckless Maid. Prime time. Broadcast of apology. Independent audit of all records from the past 7 years. Public report. That night, Isabella returned to the penthouse. Celia placed a warm bowl of soup on the table. Martha stepped up quietly. I recorded the jazz playlist. Kids like Naima. Isabella smiled. Gabriel tugged her hand to the window. Miss Isabella, the sun puddle moved. Michael set his foot in the golden patch, whispered stop, then giggled at his own control. That was something no headline could erase. Autonomy sprouting. Before bed, Isabella's phone buzzed. An unknown number, a threat. She forwarded it immediately to Ava and Dana Lewis, CPS. Ava replied, "Protective order is active. Tomorrow I'll file to extend it to cover media harassment too." Isabella set the phone down, writing her last line of the day. Audit logs don't lie. Neither does the light. The next morning, an independent feature appeared in a major paper. Care Work is Skilled Work, citing logs in the Special Masters reviews, interviewing other families whose LP notes had been overlooked. The closing line, "Science does not disdain whose hands collect the data, so long as those hands measure, record, and respect." Public opinion slid a notch, from Maid versus Doctor to Data versus Prejudice. The court set a trial date for civil liability. Collins shifted strategy, leaking generous settlement rejected. Richard answered online with one line, "We don't need generosity. We need what's right." And in the home overlooking Central Park, what's right was growing, millimeter by millimeter of light every day. The civil courtroom was packed. On the defense side sat Collins, representatives of the clinic, and his team of lawyers. On the plaintiff's side, the Hamilton family joined by 3 other families who had entered the case. Witness chairs were prepared for Dr. Anna Brooks, Olivia Park, RN, the Special Master, and Dana Lewis to testify on child safety. The judge entered, gavel striking 3 times to open session. Ava began without flourish. "This is not a lawsuit against science. This is a lawsuit demanding that science be done properly and that people be treated with dignity." She laid out the timeline with audit logs. When LP was recorded, when it was erased from the assessment, when the word total appeared. She projected the email, "Don't confuse parents." Malik carried the thread forward with clips, the shaft of light, the boys saying darker, зрение, желтый versus синий фильтры, стабильно сокращающееся реакционное время недели за неделей. The courtroom held its breath as the Special Master explained, "If this were random, we would not see such consistent decreases in latency." Next came Dr. Brooks. Calm, she testified. PLR positive, OKN positive, VEP waveforms, FST thresholds. All support functional vision around 30%. I prescribed gentle home routines based on child consent. Collins' lawyer tried to spin. "Doctor, do you endorse a housemaid leading a home program?" Anna looked straight at him. "I endorse caregivers trained to follow a clinical plan and record objectively. Titles don't move pupils. Light does." Olivia Park took the stand, hands trembling. Ava asked softly, "Are you afraid?" Olivia smiled sadly. "Yes, but I fear silence more." She told of the simplification policy, LP notes pushed aside with "Don't confuse parents," and children flinching under harsh lights. Collins's lawyer attacked her motives. Olivia held up a job offer letter from another hospital citing her ethically raised concerns. "I didn't lose my job. I'd lose my sleep if I hadn't spoken." When Isabella took the stand, the room shifted. She stood tall, eyes calm. "I'm a black woman who's worked in care for years. I don't heal diseases. I listen and I record. I teach children to say, 'Stop.' I opened a slit in the curtain and let science do the rest." Collins's lawyer blurted, "Do you realize you're only a—" The judge banged the gavel. "Counselor, enough." The jury deliberated shockingly fast. When they returned, the 4-person stood. On negligent misdiagnosis. Liable? On systemic pattern and practice causing harm. Liable. On defamation and prejudice against Isabella. Liable. Remedies, compensatory and punitive damages sufficient for deterrence, plus orders for public correction and mandatory anti-bias training. The judge added special justice orders, independent audit of 7 years of records with public summary, creation of the Gentle Light Fund, seeded by the defendants, to support gentle vision, stimulation and caregiver training, State Medical Board to issue new LP protocols, no absolute language where uncertainty remains, at least 3 independent opinions for congenital blindness diagnoses, mandatory anti-bias training. A collective sigh broke across the room. Collins slumped into his chair. Richard gripped Isabella's hand tightly. Ava and Malik exchanged a glance that said without words, the right thing, this time, won. Weeks later, primetime television aired a correction. We apologize to Ms. Isabella Johnson for unfair coverage. We apologize to the family and the caregiver community. We retract the phrase, reckless maid. Beneath that screen, Michael and Gabriel dabbed markers on paper. Dad, I want to draw the sun puddles, Gabriel said. Michael added, and the kite dot. They drew a family of 4 under a sky streaked with soft beams. Richard leaned on the doorway, smiling a smile absent for 7 years, now here to stay. The Journal of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus sent an email, accepted, for Anna's case series, with log images and special master charts. The article closed. Care clinic partnerships grounded in consent and data can restore not just function, but trust. The State Medical Board published the new LP protocols with mandatory anti-bias modules. Olivia Park received a commendation for ethics in practice. At a school intake, the IEP/404 team met with the family. The special master proposed a light 504 plan, desk near a curtained window, high-contrast paper, teachers using large objects when demonstrating, 1 orientation and mobility session weekly. The teacher smiled. We'll start with gentle light. Michael raised his hand shyly. I can tell brighter or darker. Gabriel waved a marker. And I can find the kite outside. The room burst into laughter. That weekend, the family gathered in Central Park. Celia brought apple pie, Martha carried water and a small speaker playing Coltrane. Isabella spread a blanket, laying contrast cards beside sound toys, not experiments now but woven into life. Richard sat back, gazing at the city through trees. He turned to Isabella, voice low, not performative. Stay with us, not just as coordinator. As family? Isabella paused, eyes wet. I'm here. Afternoon light spilled like candy over the grass. Gabriel ran chasing kite dots. Michael stopped when his eyes tired, whispered, Stop, then laughed and carried on. Further away, a young mother approached, carrying a boy. Ms. Johnson, my son also turned his face to a sunbeam. Isabella knelt, touched the child's shoulder gently. Light can be gentle. The mother nodded, eyes brimming. Thank you for making the world say that out loud. Night fell, the penthouse quiet. On the table lay an invitation from AAPOS honoring Michael and Gabriel with the Community Ambassador Award for inspiring changes in LP diagnostic protocols. Beside it, incorporation papers for the Gentle Light Fund. Its first grant flowing to a suburban clinic to replace harsh lamps with soft ones. Isabella closed her notebook, now a keepsake. Her final line, small enough only for herself, Science does not hate black hands. Prejudice does. When science speaks, prejudice shrinks. She set the pen down. In the next room, the boys whispered in dreams. Sun puddles, kite, and the city, after all its storms, breathed in millions of soft lights, enough for anyone brave enough to open a curtain. The story closes with gentle light returning alongside restored trust and justice, but the lesson lingers far longer. What about you? Would you dare to ask questions? To stand against prejudice and authority to defend truth like Isabella did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more journeys filled with meaning and emotion. And turn on the notification bell to be the first to see the next stories that will surely move you.